Hey, this is Tommy John, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. Today's show is brought to you by UppercutChops.com. Check out our tasty selection of all-natural, dry-aged USDA prime Wagyu steaks and chops. Wait till you taste their best-in-class New York steaks, the filet mignon, of course, the king of all those gigantic cowboy cut and tomahawk cut ribeyes from UppercutChops.com. Tell you what, folks. If you want to find out what's for dinner, give them a call at 702-799-9935, 702-799-9935, 702-799-9935 for UppercutChops.com. Boy, that's good stuff. Best steaks I've ever had, best burgers I've ever had, all USDA prime Wagyu. Not to be confused with Wagyu, as people say. All right. A big welcome in, everybody, on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates and independents from coast to coast, as well as Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Time Warner, Oceanic, and WOW cable television affiliates in select markets, plus Hotel TV in all Nielsen-rated markets, gaining about 300,000 impressions per 5 minutes, or nearly 4 million impressions per hour. That in itself is crazy. All right. It is about that time of year when the baseball trade market starts to go a little bit crazy right now. And, of course, we are on one of the stations for the Atlanta Braves, and that would be WAUD over in Auburn, Alabama. And I will tell you this much. It seems as though, according to MLB TradeRumors.com and many other sources, whether it's Bleacher Report or this one or that one or CBS or whatnot, everybody has trade rumors out there. This one is according to these guys. And they're saying, of course, that the Braves are exploring trade markets for outfield help. And you know what? I tend to believe that. That's as of today. So, the report says the Braves are actively surveying the trade market in an effort to bolster their outfield group. And that is by Ken Rosenthal of The Athletic. We'll go ahead and give Ken a little bit of love there. And Atlanta recently brought veteran Eddie Rosario back on a minor league deal after he was released by the Nats. But President of Baseball Operations, is also canvassing the market for more upgrades. In fact, certain upgrades. In fact, talks at this point have been preliminary in nature, according to The Athletic. However, there's a little surprise that Atlanta is seeking to augment its outfield mix. Ronald Acuna Jr., as we know, went out with a blown ACL. I watched that on TV. It wasn't pretty. That was a couple of months ago. I mean, somehow they stayed in the race. Of course, Michael Harris II is still on the mend from a grade 2 hammy. And, of course, that's about a month ago. Maybe we'll say 3 weeks ago, whatever. Anyway, that pair of injuries has left the Braves sort of decimated, relying on Kelenic in center field, where he's been flanked by a combination of Adam Duvall, Laureano, and Luke Williams. So it looks like the Braves can use a little bit of help. It's funny, people have been talking about the Philadelphia Phillies needing outfield help and so forth. I think the Braves are in a little bit more need of help. And I know, as I've been told by a couple of people on the inside, that the Phillies are looking at Cody Bellinger, bringing him to the fold. And it seemed like Cody Bellinger might actually be a better mix for the Atlanta Braves. But we'll get into this according to this particular site and The Athletic, etc. And so, look, Laureano, like Rosario, signed a minor league deal with Atlanta after being released earlier in the season. So the Braves are needing a little bit of help. In fact, as one would imagine, after a pair of major injuries to start the production from the Atlanta outfield hasn't been really anywhere near where it's expected to be. Of course, not when you've got two guys that really drive in runs and steal bases and blah, blah, blah. So the Braves outfield have a combined slash line of 239, 296, 372 this season. Of course, that needs to improve. Batting average lands them in the middle of the pack, which imagine a 239 batting average lands anybody in the middle of a pack. Compare that to 20, 30 years ago when maybe it was 270 in the outfield that would land a team in the middle of the pack. But they're 24th in OBS from their outfield core, of course, and 21st in slugging. So, unfortunately, going back to the time when Acuna was lost for the season, the outfield slash line was 227, 276, 374. I mean, look, it's still early enough in the trade season that a number of borderline wild card contenders have committed to a very definite deadline strategy. And there's a handful of outfielders who will clearly be available in the trade arena among a few clear-cut sellers. Of course, the White Sox have some really good guys available, and Tommy Pham, Lewis Robert Jr., who is the prize of the free agent market, or better yet, the trade market this season, and Gavin Sheets, big left-handed slugger from the White Sox as well. Now, the Oakland A's have Brent Rooker, a very, very good player, Miguel Andujar, and of course, the Marlins have Jazz Chisholm Jr., and the Angels have Kevin Pillar and Taylor Ward available. Taylor Ward has a wonderful glove, not really that good at hitting, though, and there's a small problem. So, all have outfielders, of course, who are expected to be available come the trade deadline. And, well, we'll see which team moves. Now, depending on how things play out around the league, that list could expand to include names like Lane Thomas, a very good player, Jesse Winker, who we've seen quite a bit, Grichuk, Harrison Bader, one of my favorite players, Kevin Kiermaier, and Mark Canha, among others. Now, presumably, Atlanta's focus will be on shorter-term solutions, maybe that rental market, because obviously they're going to get Acuna back, and of course he's signed through 2026 with a club option all the way to 28, so the Braves actually did the right thing with Acuna, and Harris signed all the way through 2030 with a club option for 31 and 32, so Kelenic is under club control through arbitration all the way to 28, so the Braves have really done the right thing when it comes to preserving their long-term pieces in the outfield, but look, still acquiring some rental talent would probably be a good idea. Now, beyond the current season, they don't necessarily need it, but any such acquisition would likely need some familiarity playing elsewhere on the diamond, as the 2025 outfield is generally already in place for the Atlanta Braves. So you think about salary like any other factor, worth taking into consideration, and per roster resource, Atlanta's luxury tax ledger is just shy of $273 million, placing them a little more than $4 million away from the third tier of penalization. Crossing into the third tier is the point at which a team's top pick in the following year draft pick is pushed back 10 places. Maybe not the smartest move, but then again, it also depends on the draft, the upcoming draft, and you never know. Those draft picks, they may look good in college or even in high school, but they've never hit against major league pitching. That's the biggest issue. Or better yet, if it's a pitcher, they've never faced major league hitters or even minor league hitters at that point. So an outcome most clubs try to avoid because of the unknown. I mean, a trade partner could always pay down some of the salary to help alleviate those concerns for the Braves, but that would also only increase the cost in terms of prospects, right? Because there's that balance. If you think about if the Braves make a deal, hypothetically a rental deal for Lewis Robert Jr., first of all, any team that takes Lewis Robert Jr. is going to have to pay the proverbial king's ransom to shake him loose from the White Sox because he is the pick. He is the cornerstone for that club. He is the guy that puts people in those seats right now. He's a 5-tool player, just like Ronald Acuna Jr., very similar player. Probably hits for a little bit better power, probably has a little bit better speed. Acuna probably has a little bit lesser of an arm, but Acuna hits for better average. And I think that Acuna is a better base stealer. The point is these two guys are very, very similar. And so even if the Braves go and try to pick up Lewis Robert Jr., they're going to have to pay dearly in the farm system. The White Sox have a very rich farm system right now. They're only going to get richer, and a lot of that is to protect the job of the general manager, our new general manager, Chris Getz. And Chris, I really don't know what to think right now. I mean, he's been involved with the White Sox farm organization for quite some time, but as the general manager of the team, I don't know about his ability to pull trigger on deals that actually make sense. I'm not really sure about the Dylan Cease deal, but I'm going sideways here. I want to get back to the Braves. If the Braves are going to make deals, they're going to have to make deals quick, ahead of the schedule, ahead of the other teams. And honestly, when you think about who's really shopping, you say, well, geez, the Cubs are going to be making deals. The Phillies are going to be making deals. The Dodgers are certainly going to make some deals. And I don't know. I mean, who else is out there that they're competing for? Oh, that's right. The San Diego Padres and the San Francisco Giants and the Arizona Diamondbacks, the National League champion Arizona Diamondbacks. So the Braves are going to have to make some moves against those clubs, or better yet, ahead of those clubs. And let's face it, the Milwaukee Brewers are a very quiet player in the trade market. And don't forget the St. Louis Cardinals, because the Cardinals have crept their way right back into contention, and they very well could steal that National League Central Division. So the Braves are going to have to make some moves, and I don't care whether it's from, according to The Athletic, USA Today, ESPN, whatever, it doesn't matter. Ultimately, the Braves are going to have to make a deal because they seem to be falling further and further behind the Philadelphia Phillies, and the Phillies will absolutely be buyers at the trade deadline. Back here with more baseball rumors in just a few minutes on the Sports Circus. Lots more to come.
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC Sports affiliates across North America, with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at 702-799-9935. Again, 702-799-9935. Or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
Could you use a little extra money right now? If you'd like to borrow up to $100,000 and get pre-approved in minutes, call the number we'll give you at the end of this commercial. Our lending partners have already loaned millions of dollars to individuals just like you, and we're ready to lend you up to $100,000 if you qualify. Even if your credit is not perfect, you could use the money to pay off high-interest credit cards, for home renovations, or consolidate existing debt. You can get flexible, easy-to-pay terms. The consultation to find out if you qualify is free. To find out if you qualify for our special financing program, call this toll-free number 24 hours a day. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. That's 800-335-1376. Important terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Loan amount, annual percentage rate, and term will vary depending on creditworthiness. Applying does not guarantee approval. Account approval is subject to verification and confirmation of your credit history and acceptance by a lender. If you choose to apply for a loan through us, a consumer report will be obtained to evaluate your creditworthiness in connection with your application for credit.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UpperCutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes, are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UpperCutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UpperCutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door. store without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at uppercutchops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Or make your selection directly at uppercutchops.com.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the MTV studio, AAMP.TV. This segment brought to you in part by our friends over at the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Check them out at csncoyotes.com for upcoming games and events. That's csncoyotes.com for the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Yes! All right. Welcome back to everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates from coast to coast, including our friends over in Honolulu on CBS Sports 1500 KHKA. That's home of the New York Yankees. And, of course, the San Francisco 49ers and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Welcome in, everybody, up and down the West Coast on all of our affiliates, as well as everybody from Texas all the way up to Chicago, way up to Maine, all the way down to Florida. Big hello to our friends, again, over in WAUD in Auburn, Alabama. That stretches from Montgomery all the way over to Columbus, Georgia. And, of course, to our friends over in Atlanta on WDJY 99.1 FM. All right. Also, everybody on TV and hotel television as well, on cable TV and hotel TV, and Chicago food favorites. We'll get into them in the next segment. All right. So, carrying on with this Major League Baseball trade rumor frenzy. I mean, look, the feeding frenzy is going to happen. In fact, it's already started kind of at an ancillary level. In fact, the Tampa Bay Rays did make a deal. They dealt off Aaron Savali over to the Brewers. And Savali's not one of those guys that will bedazzle you, but what he does is he eats innings. And that's why the Brewers picked him up in an effort to save that bullpen. But now, in the last segment, we did mention the Atlanta Braves and what their prospects may be. And we did mention that Jazz Chisholm Jr. could be on the trade block. And, of course, look, there are plenty of reports. This one comes from the Miami Herald. Look, they said that there is a growing belief that Jazz will be traded. So the Marlins did announce their status as deadline sellers probably about a couple of months ago. In fact, with the early trade, which is probably arguably the worst trade, in my opinion, that the Miami Marlins have ever made. Thank you, Peter Bendix, for blowing that one up. I mean, making probably the worst trade in the history of the Marlins organization, dealing off and paying the San Diego Padres, paying the $8 million for Luis Ariz, the two-time batting champion. Oh, by the way, that's in both the American League with the Twins and the National League with the Marlins as well. Nah, we don't need that guy. Let's just go ahead and get rid of him. How do you build a franchise without that great leadoff hitter? I'll never know. But in any event, so again, it's the Miami Herald saying that there's a growing belief that Jazz will be traded. In fact, think about the list, the Mariners as the club to watch and whatever. I mean, look, if Chisholm is moved, it also suggests that the Pirates and Royals could be joining the bidding as well. The Royals are a very interesting team, building that team around Bobby Witt Jr., who I think is one of the best players in baseball. No question, man. This kid can do it. In fact, the Royals believe so much that they went and gave him an 8-year deal. I think $280, $290 million. Who the hell knows? Some crazy number like that. But Bobby Witt Jr. is one of those cornerstone guys. And, we used to think of a guy by the name of Tim Anderson like that with the White Sox, but Tim Anderson has seen better days. We'll get into him in a minute. But nonetheless, think about Jazz Chisholm, back to him. Look, he's having a solid season at the plate, slashing 255, 326, 407, 105 WRC plus with 10 homers and 17 steals, albeit in 25 tries. I mean, he has been thrown out 8 times, and he's struggled with strikeouts, which does hurt. Now, that's in the past, and while his 24.9% rate is still worse than average, it's a notable improvement over his 29.2 clip from the last 4 seasons. So he's paired those improvements with contact skills and a career-best 8.8 walk rate. Okay, look, folks, I'm going to say this right now. The numbers are so watered down, in my opinion, in today's time, as a former pitcher. I look at these slash lines and I just laugh at the same time. I shrug my shoulders as a fan of baseball. And I can't understand how somebody who's hitting 250 or 240 or 230 or 220 is worth $100, $200, $300 million. I have no damn clue how that works. I really don't. Because back in the day, 250 was really the bottom number that somebody could really stay in the bigs. Maybe 248, 250. You could stay in the bigs and at least keep yourself there for the season. But unfortunately, it just seems as though, I don't know, the standards have really dropped. And it's a little embarrassing. Guys should be hitting, your outfielders should be hitting no less than 270. And you've got guys hitting 230, 220, 2 teens. And they're striking out a ton. Why are they striking out? Honestly, there's a big push for this exit velocity and lift rate and this rate and that rate. All these sabermetrics, all these stats, all these analytics, in my opinion, are destroying hitting. They're destroying aspects of the game, even from a pitcher standpoint. Well, we got to pay attention to the pitch count. That's a bunch of BS, right? The eye test actually works. The conditioning is wrong. So I'm getting off on a tangent here, but I'll get back to Jazz Chisholm in just a minute. Baseball has been horribly compromised. And so we've lost the game that we knew. And they're trying to justify, well, this guy's got an exit velocity of 110 when he hits the ball. Yeah, but what's his strikeout rate? So you take a guy like Jazz Chisholm, right? And so, look, his strikeout rate is still pretty bad. It's about 25%. Worse than the average. And they say, well, it's a notable improvement over the 29.2%. What over the prior 4 seasons? Who cares? But people are saying, hey, there's little doubting that Chisholm's raw tools and star caliber upside. Okay, if they're doubting this or they're not doubting it, well, what have they done to improve them on the short run that's going to last in the long run? So they continue on to say, well, he's averaged 26 homers and 32 steals per 162 games played in his career. However, he's never topped 124 games in a season. He's only reached 400 plate appearances once to this point in his major league career. So they say, well, injuries have frequently hobbled Chisholm, and because, well, it caused him to miss significant time. Come on. Enough of that. Look, Chisholm has missed time due to shoulder injury, back strain, put him on the 60-day IL, and turf toe and oblique strains. I think of a guy, our baseball guy, one of our baseball guys, in fact, very dear friend and friend of the show and friend of many, is the great Darrell Evans. Darrell, of course, 414 home runs in Major League Baseball, hit in front of Hank Aaron for, 5 years, world champion with the Detroit Tigers, a great third baseman with the Atlanta Braves, San Francisco Giants, the Detroit Tigers as well. So for 21 years, he played Major League Baseball. And you know how many times he got injured? He didn't. He played through the injuries, if anything, if he stubbed his toe or hurt his back or whatever the hell it was. And in today's time, Darrell played for 20-plus years in Major League Baseball. Think about that, folks. How many games did he miss? Right. And think about the guys today, even in football or basketball. Oh, well, we have these mandatory days off. Well, you can't do certain things 2 days in a row or 3 days out of 5 or whatever the hell it is. There's so much focus put on resting these guys instead of letting them either A, face adversity, face pain, play through pain, and strengthen your body. It's basically, let's put diapers on these kids and let's let them play and let's pay them hundreds of millions of dollars. That in itself is lunacy. So back to Jazz Chisholm. Now, he was another guy that he hasn't played a full season yet. 140 games is the most he's ever played in a season. 400 plate appearances, whatever. Chisholm is earning an affordable, as they say, $2.625 million this season and is controlled for 2 more years. In what world is $2.625 million per season for less than 160 games affordable? Oh, that's right, in today's time. In today's time where hundreds of millions of dollars are thrown around. For example, a guy's like Shohei Ohtani, show me the money. That's crazy. $70 million a year for a guy that can't hit an up and in pitch or anything low and away. Yeah, that's right. Anyway, never mind my opinion. Back to Chisholm. So he's been the Marlins' primary center fielder over the last couple of seasons when he's not injured. That through that move was born out of necessity. And of course, Miami has been unable to develop a center fielder. I wonder why. Well, let's ask Assistant General Manager Kepler. Yeah, let's see if he can do anything about it. See if he has an opinion on that, if you know what I mean. Yeah, whatever. Let's see if he's out looking for a new gig next year. Anyway, Chisholm, a natural shortstop who slid over to second base earlier in his career, moved to center fielder last year and had drawn a mixed review, of course, for his defensive metrics, if you know what I mean. Nonetheless, he was a plus defender, which is funny to even imagine, just over 1,300 innings at second base before moving out to the outfield. And of course, all 3 potential teams listed in this particular report stands a clear fit for the theoretical Chisholm deal. And, well, you know what? When we come back from break, we're going to get into these alleged 3 deals, these 3 moves, because I'm not so sure that some of these are really good fits. I think they're moves of desperation by at least a couple of these teams. And frankly, 2 of these teams really don't need to do anything. One of them is just wishful thinking, in my opinion, because I don't think they're going to be competing for the postseason. Nonetheless, back here in a few minutes, going to finish up this discussion on Jazz Chisholm Jr. and the Miami Marlins in just a few minutes. Don't go anywhere. I'm your Ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime, nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it on here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.
Hello, Americans. It's Uncle Sam here. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes to the IRS or state, don't worry. I've got important news that may help you negotiate a lower tax bill. In today's economy, the IRS has released a variety of new rules and is offering more flexible terms to help Americans looking to settle their IRS debt. If you apply today, we may be able to lift your wage garnishments and release a freeze on your bank assets or business. Our team of tax professionals can resolve your case and stop collection actions against you. Even if you've been audited or haven't filed a return in years, they can help. Call right now and find out if you qualify to settle your IRS debt for far less than what you owe. Pick up your phone right now and call us for a free $500 IRS tax review. Don't wait. Here's the number.
Call right now. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. For the last time, that's 800-950-2049.
The old way of living with diabetes is a pain. You've got to remember to do your testing and always need to stick your fingers to test your blood sugar. The new way to live your life with diabetes is with a continuous glucose monitor. Apply a discrete sensor on your body, and it continuously monitors your glucose levels, helping you spend more time in range and freeing you from painful finger sticks. If you are living with type 1 or type 2 diabetes and you use insulin or have had hypoglycemic events, you might be eligible for a CGM through your insurance benefits. U.S. Med partners with over 500 private insurance companies and Medicare. We offer free shipping, 90-day supplies, and we bill your insurance. Call us today for a free benefits check.
800-659-7805. 800-659-7805. 800-659-7805. That's 800-659-7805.
That's ridiculous.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Hey everyone, Dave Jackson here, ESPN rules analyst on ESPN Hockey, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP-TV studio, AAMP.TV. Folks, make sure you check out thesportscircus.com for our upcoming guests, our prior guests, or recorded shows, which are a podcast in their entirety. We don't edit or fix in the mix. We just leave it out there. We make mistakes. Too bad. It's out there. Get over it. All right. Also, as you're checking out thesportscircus.com, pay attention to that guest list. In fact, coming up soon, we have a very, very special guest joining us. And that would be the legendary Buck Dharma, who is the lead vocalist and lead guitarist, founder for Blue Oyster Cult. Yes! Boy, that's good stuff. Buck's going to be joining us. In fact, we might even debut some new music from Buck on the show. Make sure you check that out at thesportscircus.com. And also make sure to check out some of our partners as well over on the partners page. One of our long-standing partners, very, very close friends of the show, is Al's Number One Italian Beef at 1079 West Taylor Street in Chicago's Little Italy. If you can't get over there to enjoy some wonderful Italian beef sandwich, if you don't know what that is, folks, you better check it out because it beats the doors off of the Philly cheesesteak fried sandwich with Cheese Whiz on it. In my opinion, what an awful sandwich, but that's just my opinion. A lot of people like it. But once you compare them side by side, the Italian beef sandwich crushes it. Al's Number One Italian Beef is the founder of the sandwich. They've been in business since 1938, still doing it. They're all over the city. And if you're not in Chicagoland, guess what? You go to alsbeef.com and you can pick up your tubs of Italian beef there, or you go to goldbelly.com and just type in Al's Beef and pick up that incredible product. Boy, is it good. I have to tell you, folks, if you've never had it, you're missing out. All right, welcome back, everybody, on TV and radio. Also, big shout out to our friends over on Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. And let's face it, if you like pizza, you like hot dogs, you like Italian ice, Italian beef, you like good ethnic foods from pick your favorite types, whether it's Mexican or Chinese or soul food or Polish food, Ethiopian food, Italian food, it's all over the place. Check out Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. Like, follow, share your recipes and your favorite restaurants around the country because it's not just isolated to Chicago, despite the name. All right, enough of that stuff. We're going to get back to the Jazz Chisholm Jr. trade ideas because, of course, Peter Bendix, in my opinion, arguably the worst general manager in Major League Baseball, is going to possibly deal off yet another important piece of the puzzle from his team. Of course, the biggest boneheaded move, in my opinion, made all season and probably in the last decade was dealing off Luis Ariz over to the San Diego Padres. And, oh, by the way, why don't you just go ahead and take it for free? We'll pay his $8 million so we get it off the books, too, as well, which, in my opinion, arguably the worst deal I've seen probably in the last 20 years. And, of course, let's just blow up the franchise, and let's go ahead and get rid of Jazz Chisholm Jr., who has some pretty good upside. But anyway, there are some potential teams interested in him that I'm not necessarily so sure that all three of them, as they are stating here in this Mish report, I don't necessarily believe that he is really the right guy to be dealt off. That's now the Miami Herald. Now, so Craig Mish of Sports Grid and the Miami Herald. That's where this actually comes from. So they say all three of the potential teams listed in this report stand as clear fits for a theoretical Chisholm deal. The Royals general manager, J.J. Piccolo, has been open about his desire to add a bat capable of playing both the infield and outfield, a need Chisholm would fill nicely. According to them, in my opinion, there are better bats. Anyway, the Royals have firmly even platoon split as team, but the bulk of the team is right-handed, so they need a left-handed stick. Well, to me, that brings Cody Bellinger to mind. Anyway, including Kansas City's two best hitters, Bobby Witt and Sal Perez, first baseman Pasquantino, and second baseman Michael Massey, who has been limited to just 142 plate appearances due to injury. And there are only left-handed bats on the roster who have turned in an average or better production by a measure of WRC+. So, also, the Pirates are in the mix here. Meanwhile, they have received subpar offensive production from second baseman this season. In fact, since being called up, former first-round pick Nick Gonzalez has delivered roughly league average offense. Now listen to this. 269, 307, 414. Okay, remember those numbers. 269, 307, 414. All right, let's compare them with 255, 326, and 407. Hey, wait a minute. We just said 269, 307, 414. Okay, so last I saw, 269 is greater than 255. Okay? 307 is just a touch less than Jazz Chisholm's 327. And of course, we can't forget this one, the 414 from Nick Gonzalez. The 414 is, better than Jazz Chisholm's 407. So what are we talking about here? Well, guess what? Nick Gonzalez overall, in my opinion, has better numbers. So why would they even be interested in moving Nick Gonzalez when the next best alternative certainly isn't Nick Gonzalez being replaced by Jazz Chisholm? There are other guys that are out there on the block that are better fits. So I don't think the Pirates are a good fit, because if you just basically say, I'm going to swap numbers, and that's it, a 99 versus 104 WRC. Look, that doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, Nick Gonzalez has better numbers. He's hitting better for average, and his slash line is better overall. And, of course, they say, well, but he's been more productive against lefties than righties. Pittsburgh outfielders are also hitting just 227, 299, 352. So he's better against the outfielders. The problem is Jazz Chisholm is a questionable outfielder. So what are you going to get from an error side from Chisholm? There could be a problem. They say, well, Chisholm, in this, according to the Miami Herald, in this Mish report, Chisholm could provide an offensive boost in either role. I don't believe that whatsoever. And they also go on to say, well, both outfield and second base have been weaknesses of the Mariners as well. And look, the hope, according to this report, is Seattle was that the offensive acquisition of Polanco would solidify second base, but the switch hitter's steady offensive output unexpectedly cratered this season. Now, he's not hitting very well. This guy is really, really sinking the joint up, in my opinion. I mean, he's slashing 189, believe it or not. Now, how is that in the big leagues? How is 189 anybody in the big leagues? I'll never know. 189, 280, and 284 to slashing. Career worth 33.6% strikeout rate. And, of course, they're outfielders that have combined for 230, 285, and 365 batting line. So, really, he's a better fit, if anywhere, out of any of those teams for the Seattle Mariners. But I believe there are better players for the Mariners. The Mariners don't need people that strike out. That is the problem. The Mariners have a bevy of availability to choose from. So why would they go out and try to get Jazz Chisholm? And they're going to pay a pretty fair amount of money in draft stock from him. And frankly, I don't necessarily believe that's a good move. When we think of these teams from an outfielder standpoint, the first one that comes to mind is Cody Bellinger. Cody Bellinger is going to be available from Chicago Cubs, and Bellinger is going to be in big demand. The guy's got a great glove, one of the best gloves in baseball today, And the guy is knocking the cover off the ball again, just like he did early in his career with the Dodgers. He has found himself playing in Chicago, and he's playing very well there. I mean, the Cubs would really be smart to keep him. But then again, I mean, they're not too far out of it. But if they're going to sell, there's a guy you can get a lot back for because they just locked him up in a contract in the offseason. So it's not a real long-term contract, but the Cubs do have him tied up a little bit. So if anywhere, the Royals would be a very good landing spot for Cody Bellinger, and I'm not necessarily sure that the Cubs would be willing to trade within the division to the Pittsburgh Pirates, just mentioning these teams. He certainly would not be available to go to the Milwaukee Brewers. Where else could Cody Bellinger go? Obviously, it would be the Atlanta Braves because he's got a tremendous glove. Oh, yeah, he could steal bases too. And he could go, I believe the first place he may go is the Philadelphia Phillies. So there are teams that could use him, but Seattle certainly is one of those teams with that terrible outfielder slash line of 230, 285, 365. Bellinger's hitting way above those numbers. And he is certainly a cornerstone, better yet in center field. He's one of those guys that you want over there. Look, he could play first base. He could play center field. He could basically play just about anywhere in the outfield. And this guy is one of the better players that people don't talk about in Major League Baseball. In fact, we're going to give him a nice round of applause. We really like Cody Bellinger. Wish he would have stayed with the Dodgers. So we think about some of these other things. Oh, by the way, for teams looking for a very, very questionable shortstop, it was a little bit shocking that the Marlins actually designated Tim Anderson for assignment. I can't even believe this one. A couple of years ago, this guy was at the top of the White Sox future. And of course, Anderson is only 31 and was Miami's lone major league signing in free agency in the offseason. And he's linked to a one-year deal of $5 million on the heels of a great season. But guess what? This guy has completely imploded. Not really sure what happened. Hitting about 214. And they said, you know what? You're going down to AAA, buddy. We're going to see what happens with you. Let's see if we can find you there, and then maybe we'll bring you back. But his departure for the roster cleared the way for Brujan and Edwards. Who the hell knows what's going to happen? But Anderson's available, too, for desperate teams seeking a shortstop. Back in a few minutes, folks. Don't go anywhere.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.
If you served in the Marine Corps, by now you know about the contaminated water problem at Camp Lejeune. If you were stationed or worked at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1987, you probably have a lot of questions. We have some answers. You could be entitled to compensation. Billions of dollars are being allocated to pay for damages to anyone stationed at Camp Lejeune during that time. Unfortunately, it appears that officials may have known the contaminated water problem existed and did little to protect their men. The Semper Fi Code was not honored. If you or someone in your family has developed a serious illness, including various forms of cancer, call this Camp Lejeune legal support line right now. You can't turn back the clock and change what happened, but you can certainly call right now and learn your rights as a Marine. Here's the number.
Call 800-335-7196. 800-335-7196. That's 800-335-7196.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UpperCutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UpperCutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UpperCutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UpperCutChops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Or make your selection directly at UpperCutChops.com.
Hey everybody, this is Brian Urlacher. Welcome back to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. Folks, if you're interested in producing or hosting your own show, maybe you have an idea for a radio show or a television show or a podcast, and you want to figure out how to do it, give us a call, 702-799-9935, 702-799-9935, and we can help you out with that. We can help you content create, broadcast, edit, distribute, and do all of the little things that most people don't know how to do. And the most important part of that is creating some content that is bankable. And maybe you don't know how to do that, but maybe you have some ideas. Contact us. Again, 702-799-9935, 702-799-9935. We can help you out with that. And guess what? It's all good for the community, and it's a lot more affordable than you think. More importantly, that distribution piece is what a lot of people don't know how to do. That's the one thing that we are really, really good at. And let's face it, this show right now is available at 215 radio stations across America, never mind all of our television outlets as well. Listen, we're very good at this, and we can help you create, host, broadcast, and distribute your very own show. Yes! And by the way, that's my patented yes! So don't use it without our authorization. All right, welcome back to everybody on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates and independents from coast to coast. Everybody on television and cable TV and also hotel TV, thanks for joining us. Back here talking baseball, and we'll get to the Angels, what they may be doing, because it may affect a lot of other teams. But let's take a quick look at these Major League Baseball standings. How about the Baltimore Orioles eventually overtaking and just wearing down the New York Yankees? About a week ago, the Orioles were 2-3 games out of first place, and now they're 3 games up into first place. And it looks like the Orioles will just continue on the path that everybody predicted, that they will win this division. We may see the Orioles in the World Series, because if you look up and down the American League, look, the Yankees are a formidable opponent. Of course, you've got 9 guys that could take the ball out of the ballpark every time they play a game, and that's in that lineup. The Cleveland Guardians, of course, I always want to call them the Cleveland Indians, they've stayed steady at about 6+ over the Minnesota Twins, but don't count out the Kansas City Royals. They're 9 games off the pace, which is quite a bit, but they've expanded that wild card thing. And I think head-to-head, first of all, I believe Cleveland could give Baltimore a run for their money, and I believe Cleveland could shock Baltimore if they face each other in the playoffs. The Royals, you just don't know which Royals team you're going to get. First of all, can the Royals beat the Yankees? I believe they can beat the Yankees. Can they beat the Boston Red Sox, who now find themselves 9 games over 500? I mean, those guys are playing really good ball these days. But you look up and down this lineup, you say, okay, I'm talking about the American League standings. You say, all right, 3 teams in the American League Central are solid. 3 teams in the American League East are solid. And over in the West, you've got the Houston Astros are playing over 500 ball, and they're creeping up. They're only a couple of games behind Seattle as they stand. The world champion Texas Rangers are 6 games off the pace. And let's face it, 6 games off the pace. If they're playing 500 ball, well, shoot, they'd only be 3 games out. So those guys, it's really basically where it drops off. So when you look at what's left, you say, wait a minute, this whole wild card thing kind of throws a wrench into everything. And the wild card teams as they stand right now would be the Yankees, the Twins, and the Red Sox, with the Royals a game and a half back, and the Houston Astros 3.5 back. So this is a very interesting race, with Tampa Bay, of course, being 5.5 back. But the point is, you've got a wide open arena in the American League. And so I take a look at the National League, and maybe it's a little bit different here. The National League has their standings, and when you look at which team in the National League really stands out, I don't know. I mean, the Philadelphia Phillies are 26 games over 500, but they're 8 ahead of Atlanta. Atlanta, with all those big injuries, they're still 10 over and 8 games back. Solid wild card position as they stand with the big injuries. Milwaukee steady at 5 games in front of the St. Louis Cardinals, and Pittsburgh is 9 back off the pace. Pittsburgh, of course, rooting for that wild card. Now, in the National League West, it's the Dodgers playing 19 games over 500 at 55 and 36, a 604 winning percentage, 7.5 ahead of the Padres. And the Arizona Diamondbacks are playing 500 ball at 9.5 back. So when you look at which teams really can compete, you ask yourself, hey, in the National League, how many teams are really in this? Well, let's take a quick look. In the driver's seat right now, and just to the wild card side, is Atlanta. They're 3 games above everybody in the wild card. St. Louis is in that slot, and San Diego has the 3rd spot. But Arizona is only 2 games off the pace. The New York Metropolitans are 2.5 games off the pace, and the San Francisco Giants are 3.5 off the pace. Pittsburgh is 4 off the pace with Cincinnati at 5. So, and of course, Washington, believe it or not, even Washington is at 5 off the pace. And I guess if you want to go one further, just for the last one, to be the Cubs at 5.5. The Cubs are going to be sellers. When you ask yourself, what about these deals? Who really is going to go out and make something happen? Like the Angels are 15 games out, so they're looking to make some deals here. In fact, the Angels, according to USA Today, are one of the few obvious deadline sellers, just like, of course, those White Sox and, of course, the Marlins. But even they might not be fully open for business. So, according to USA Today, they suggest that the club prefers to hold on to Taylor Ward, who's a young star, and starters Tyler Anderson and Griffin Canning, due to the fact that all 3 are signed and controlled into the next season. And if the Angels are reluctant to move anyone signed or controlled by current campaign, that would then extend Luis Rengifo as well. And I think Perry Manassian's doing a really good job. In fact, give him a nice round of applause. How about giving his father a round of applause? That's Zach Manassian. You know, check out, there's a book out there called Lasorda University. Check that out, Lasorda University. Boy, that's a fun book. You can find it at Amazon or pick your favorite book outlet. Great stories about Tommy Lasorda back from the 1968 Ogden Dodgers team. Boy, that is a fun read. It's a short read, but lots of great stories, great Tommyisms in there. And in fact, that's for our friend Zach Manassian. But anyway, back to his son, Perry Manassian, doing the right thing with the Angels. And in fact, Anderson, that'd be Tyler Anderson, is signed through the 2025 season at $13 million each season, and Ward is controlled through 2026 through arbitration. Canning and Rengifo are arbitration eligible through next season, not this season. And of course, it's always possible, especially this time of year, that there's some level of posturing in that stance. And of course, the Angels are 15 games under 500, 10.5 out of the division lead, and about 12, actually I think 15 out of the wild card spot. Nonetheless, their minus 78 run differential is 5th worst in Major League Baseball. Of course, Mike Trout has been on the shelf since April. Patrick Sandoval and Robert Stevenson have both been lost to UCLs. And to say the least, things have not gone very well for this club. And that said, good old Artie Moreno has long appeared adverse to embarking on any kind of rebuild effort. And the Angels have regularly been active in free agency on the trade market over the past decade, even as their playoff drought has grown to to the largest in the sport. And, of course, they last qualified for the postseason 10 years ago. And that trend has spanned multiple general managers, Jerry DePito, Billy Epler, Perry Manassian right now. And, of course, this seems largely attributed to the ownership. I mean, you can only do so much. I mean, whether it's Jerry or Billy or Perry right now in this particular position, look, if you've got your hands tied by the ownership, there's only so much you can do. So even as they're faced with losing, show me the money, Shohei Ohtani, show me the money, in free agency in the offseason, Manassian decisively stated that the Angels would not rebuild. And that's, in my opinion, likely due to Artie Moreno's position. Doesn't matter. When considering that context, it's easier to see the scenario in which the Angels would rebuff their interest in names like Ward, and even if there's a strong logical case that they should be capitalizing on trade value nearly anywhere it exists on the roster. And as it stands, Nightingale wrote, that would be of USA Today, wrote that the Angels have been bombarded with interest in Carlos Estevez and are likely to trade setup Luis Garcia. Other rental players of note for the Angels include Matt Moore, Brandon Drury, and Kevin Pillar. I think Pillar might retire after this season. Hunter Strickland and Miguel Sano. Sano being a big bomber, you may remember him. The guy can hit some really long home runs, but he does strike out quite a bit. 31-year-old Estevez on the second season of a 2-year, $13.5 million contract signed in the 22-23 offseason. Longtime Rockies hurler had taken to a new level in Anaheim, particularly this year. And he's got a tiny 2.89 ERA with a strong 26.9 strikeout rate and career best 3.8 walk rates. Estevez averaged just shy of 97 on his heater and has picked up 16 saves in the season, 31 last year, and was named AL Reliever of the Month in June after tossing 10 shutout innings in and recording a 32.3% strikeout rate while issuing a walk. So Garcia is 37. He's on a one-year deal, $4.25 million, and he's pitched 36 innings, and he's yielded 4.25 ERA while recording 9 holds. So the veteran righty has struck out a sharp 23.7% of his opponents against a similarly strong 7.9% walk rate, and he's kept the ball on the ground at a clip of 49.5%. And of course, his sinker's down from his career best 98.7 miles an hour. Look, all these stats, I don't give a damn. Can you pitch and make the hitters hit ground balls? That's apparently what he's doing. And so, look, this guy's got some life left in his pitch, and I think he's good. Look, Strickland's 35, up and down career. He's available as well. Pitched 40 innings out of the pen this year, 3.6 ERA, strikeout rate, walk rate, all this other crap, whatever. You got a good arm. And back to Pillar. Look, he was released by the White Sox back in April, and he's been pretty damn good over in Anaheim, slashing 305, 360, and 516. Now, that's an interesting thing because this guy's an outfielder, and who's looking for an outfielder? Oh, yeah, that's right. The Kansas City Royals are, the Pittsburgh Pirates are, and, of course, most definitely, the Seattle Mariners are. So why would they consider a guy like Jazz Chisholm when you got Pillar that's out there slashing way better numbers? Way better. So anyway, look, we could go on and on about this, but when we think about what's available, the Angels have some pieces. I mean, will they trade within the division with Seattle? Probably not, but they certainly could trade with Kansas City, and they certainly could trade out of the American League with the Pittsburgh Pirates. And remember, also, the Philadelphia Phillies are very weak on the left side of the field. They've got a really good hitting third baseman in Alec Bohm, but he's a defensive liability, and they have nobody, in my opinion, out there in left field. So they might be players for the Angels, and don't be surprised to see a deal between the Angels and the Philadelphia Phillies. I don't think the Atlanta Braves would go to them. We could do this all week. In fact, we may even do it all week. We're going to be back in about 23 hours to pick this up and other nonsense here because that's what we do here on the circus. So, for your Ringmaster Sal, I'm your Ringmaster Sal, and we'll see you in about 23 hours right here on your favorite station. So long, everyone.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.